They said a floating city couldn't survive a full gravity ring collapse. But somehow, a quiet human, one they'd ordered to leave, held the sky up with his bare, burning hands. Where are you watching from? Subscribe and stay. This one begins exactly where logic ends. The city of Mir Altar hung in the thin atmosphere of Velir Prime like a crown suspended above hell. Violet glass palaces clung to massive columns that rose from toxic clouds below, their surfaces catching the double sun's light in ways that made them seem alive. Floating gardens drifted between platforms, gravity fields keeping ancient crystal trees rooted in midair. It was beautiful in the way only impossibility could be. Ethan Ramos wiped grease from his hands and stared at the energy conduit he'd just repaired. 34 years old, perpetually tired, with short black hair and a beard that never quite looked intentional. He'd learned to prefer the service corridors, the maintenance shafts, the places where Valyrians didn't have to look at him. Humans didn't belong in the high cities. Everyone knew that. But someone had to keep them floating. He gathered his tools quietly, the way he did everything. 3 years on Velir Prime, and he'd perfected the art of being invisible. It wasn't hard. Most Valyrians looked through him anyway, their elegant features and silver-tinged skin turned toward more important things than a contract technician from a cargo station. The comm on his wrist buzzed. Another anomaly in Sector 7? Third one this week. Ethan frowned at the data streaming across the small screen. The pattern was wrong. Gravity modules didn't fail in sequence like that unless something was making them fail. He started walking toward the transit platform, already planning the repair route. Above him, through the transparent ceiling panels, he could see the underside of House Valkyle's private gardens, restricted space. He'd only been up there once, years ago, during an emergency override. He tried not to think about that day, about small hands holding onto his arm, about a voice that had whispered thank you while alarms screamed. In the upper levels, Lady Narisha Valkyle stood before the Council of High Houses, her posture perfect, her metallic dress flowing like liquid silver. Dark hair pulled into an intricate braid, green eyes that could freeze oxygen. She was presenting arguments for restricting human access to the city core. Her daughter, Lyra, sat in the observation gallery, violet dress matching her lilac eyes. 19 years old, and already skilled at hiding what she felt. Her fingers touched the pendant hidden beneath her collar. A Valyrian gratitude symbol, meant for someone she'd been forbidden to speak about. The meeting droned on. Proposals, counter-proposals, statistics about human reliability. Narisha's voice never wavered, even when discussing the incident that had killed her husband. Technical failure, human error. The words were clinical, but Lyra knew the grief that lived behind them. After the session ended, Lyra found herself wandering toward the data archives. She told herself she was just curious about city maintenance logs, that she wasn't searching for a specific name in the repair records. Ethan Ramos. Again and again. Quiet fixes in sectors that should have failed but didn't. Energy reroutes that prevented cascades. Gravity adjustments that avoided disasters. All logged as routine maintenance, none requesting commendation. How long had he been saving them in silence? Across the city, in a penthouse office decorated with trophies from failed treaties, Lord Sereth reviewed his own reports. Incident rates were climbing. Perfect. A few more technical failures blamed on human workers, and the council would have no choice but to vote for expulsion. His aide brought him evening wine. Sereth didn't notice the slight tremor in the gravity field beneath his feet. A tremor that Ethan Ramos, 3 levels down, was already investigating. The human knelt beside an access panel running diagnostics. The numbers told a story. Someone was tampering with the systems, making them fail slowly, carefully, in ways that looked like negligence. He filed a report, flagged it urgent, sent it to the city's central AI, Gaia 12, and hoped someone would listen. They never did. Ethan closed the panel and stood, joints protesting. Tomorrow he'd check the Valkyle private gardens. The alert there had been pinging for hours, and they kept dismissing it. Nobles didn't like being told their paradise was sitting on a failing module, but if no one else would fix it, he would. Even if they hated him for being there, even if they screamed at him to leave, because someone had to hold these cities up, and apparently that someone was him. The Valkail private garden smelled like ozone and dying flowers. Ethan knelt beside the gravity module, hands deep in the mechanism's guts, trying to stabilize the field before the entire platform collapsed. The crystal trees above him swayed wrong, their roots pulling against failing anchors. 2 minutes, maybe 3, before total failure. He didn't hear the footsteps until a voice cut through the morning air like a blade. "Who authorized a human here?" Ethan looked up slowly. Lady Narisha Valkail stood at the garden's entrance, flanked by 2 guards and her daughter. Her green eyes burned with something that wasn't quite anger, something deeper, older. "Ma'am, the system flagged critical failure," one of the guards tried to explain. He was the closest qualified technician. "I don't care." Narisha moved closer, each step precise, controlled. Her metallic dress caught the light, making her look like she was made of knives. "Get away, human!" The words landed like a physical blow. Behind her, Lyra's face went pale. Her lilac eyes fixed on Ethan's face, his tired brown eyes, the shape of his hands still holding the stabilizer in place. Those hands, she knew those hands. Ethan stood, wiping dust from his work clothes. His voice stayed calm. It always did. "The module was 90 seconds from failure when I got here. If I step away now, you'll lose the entire garden, maybe the platform beneath it." Narisha's jaw tightened. Pain flashed across her face before she buried it under ice. "It's just a garden. What I won't lose is my daughter's safety because of human carelessness. Not again." For 1 second, Ethan's eyes met Lyra's. Recognition hit her like gravity failure. The same tired face, younger inner memories. The same steady voice that had said it'll be okay while the world fell apart around them. Him. It was him. Her hand moved unconsciously to the pendant under her dress, the gratitude symbol she'd carried for 13 years, waiting to give it to a ghost named Ethan Ramos. He was standing right in front of her mother, being destroyed. Ethan powered down his tools, collected what he could reach without crossing the invisible line Narisha had drawn between them. "Understood, Lady Valkail." No argument, no defense, just acceptance. "I'd recommend having another technician review this before the day cycle ends. It's still unstable." He left through the service entrance, the same way he'd come, silent, dismissed, gone. The garden's gravity field flickered once, twice, then held, barely. Narisha stood rigid, watching the space where he'd been. Guilt knocked on the door of her chest. She locked it. She'd learned that skill at her husband's funeral. "Mother." Lyra's voice came out smaller than she intended. "Do you know who that was?" "I don't care who he was." "You should." But Narisha was already walking away. The conversation closed. She had a council session to prepare for, arguments to refine, a case to build for why humans couldn't be trusted in the high cities. Lyra stood alone in the garden, the pendant heavy around her neck. She waited until the guards followed her mother. Then she ran. She found him 3 levels down, in a maintenance corridor, checking another failing module. Her breath came hard from the running, from the weight of what she'd just witnessed. "That was you?" she said. Ethan turned, surprised. "Miss Valkail, you shouldn't be down here alone. 13 years ago, the gravity collapse in the children's wing. You held me while they fixed it." His expression shifted. Memory, sadness. "You had metal threads in your hair. You were terrified." "I was 6. Lyra's voice cracked. "I never forgot your face. I've been looking for you ever since." She pulled out the pendant, Valyrian crystal, carved with the symbol for life debt. "This was supposed to be yours. I was supposed to thank you." Ethan stared at it, then at her, then back at his work. "I just did my job, Miss Valkail. You don't owe me anything." That's not how debts work. It's how I work." He turned back to the module, dismissing the moment the same way her mother had dismissed him. But his hands shook slightly as he adjusted the energy flow. Lyra looked at the pendant, at him, at the failing systems all around them that no one else seemed to notice. "The anomalies," she said quietly. "They're not accidents, are they?" Ethan's hands stopped moving. "No, I don't think they are." "Then who?" "Someone who wants us to fail." He met her eyes. "And someone who knows no one will believe a human who says so." Narisha couldn't sleep. She stood at her bedroom window, looking out at the city lights, seeing instead the explosion that had taken her husband. 5 years ago, human maintenance crew on a joint station. One mistake, one overlooked connection, one moment, and he was gone. She'd built walls after that, good walls, strong ones. They kept her daughter safe, kept their house stable, kept her from having to think about the human technician's face in the garden today, the way he'd accepted her dismissal without fight, the way her daughter had looked at him. Lyra was in the archives again, fingers flying across holographic displays. She'd pulled maintenance logs going back 3 years, every system failure, every near disaster, every repair. Sector 12, module collapse prevented. Technician E. Ramos. Sector 8, energy cascade rerouted. Technician E. Ramos. Sector 19, gravity anchor stabilized. Technician E. Ramos. 17 incidents, 17 saves, 0 commendations requested, 0 public recognition sought. He'd been holding pieces of the city together while people like her mother argued about keeping him out. Gaia 12, the city's central AI, watched through her sensors. She'd been trying to alert the council for weeks. The pattern was clear, failures increasing, human interventions preventing catastrophes. And then, 48 hours ago, she'd found something else. The sabotage code, buried deep, elegant, designed to look like deterioration. She sent another alert to the council, flagged urgent, attached evidence. Lord Sereth's office received it first. He smiled as he archived it in a folder labeled Ignore. Then he sent a carefully worded report to the council members. Notice how incidents have increased since humans gained maintenance access? Perhaps it's time for stricter controls. The words were chosen well. They landed in fears already present. Narisha read them twice, seeing validation for what she already believed. In the lower levels, Ethan stared at his terminal screen. He'd found more evidence. The failures weren't random. Someone was causing them, timing them, making them look natural. He wrote a detailed report, included data, highlighted patterns, marked it priority, sent it to building management, to safety oversight, to the council secretary. 3 hours later, he got one response. "Thank you for your concern. Systems are operating within normal parameters." He sat back, rubbed his eyes, laughed once, bitterly. "If I shout, nobody listens. If I do nothing, everyone dies. So I do the work and stay quiet." He said it to the empty room, to himself, to the ghost of whoever he'd been before he learned that heroism meant being invisible. His calm buzzed. Another anomaly. Sector 15, near the council chambers. Of course, Ethan grabbed his toolkit and headed for the transit platform. As he walked, he passed through crowds of Valyrians going about their elegant lives. None of them looked at him. Most didn't know his name. All of them were alive because he'd decided years ago that being hated was better than being responsible for letting them fall. In House Valkael's diplomatic office, Narisha met with Lord Sereth. He brought wine, sympathy, understanding about the burden of loss. "Your concerns about human reliability are well-founded," he said smoothly. "I've compiled evidence, perhaps a vote, a formal limitation on their access." Narisha looked at his reports, incident dates, failure statistics, all very convincing. "The council would support this? With your testimony?" "Absolutely." Sareth refilled her glass. After what happened to your husband, no one would question your judgment. She nodded slowly. The walls around her heart felt secure again. Necessary. Right. Lyra listened from the hallway. Listened to her mother agree to expel the one person who'd been saving them. Listened to Sareth's pleased tone. Listened to her own heartbreaking. She pulled out her personal comm, found a secured channel, sent a message to an address she'd located in the maintenance worker database. They're going to force you out. I won't let that happen. Meet me at Observation Deck C midnight. Please, LV. 3 levels down, Ethan's comm buzzed with the encrypted message. He read it twice. Looked at the ceiling, at the systems showing stress fractures he couldn't officially report, at his hands that were tired from catching a city that didn't want to be caught. He sent back one word. Okay. Then he returned to tracing the sabotage patterns because someone had to. Even if no one would ever believe him, even if they already decided he was the problem, even if the vote was probably already lost. Observation Deck C was abandoned at midnight, too far from the residential sectors, too close to the maintenance levels, perfect for conversations no one should hear. Lyra got there first. She'd dressed simply, no house colors, no jewelry except the pendant hidden under her shirt. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ethan arrived exactly on time, because of course he did. He looked exhausted. 3 repair calls between dinner and now. His work clothes had burn marks from an electrical short. Miss Valkael. Lyra, please, we're past titles. He nodded but didn't move closer. Kept professional distance even in private. She'd expected that. You said they're forcing me out. My mother's agreeing to it. Lord Sareth brought evidence. Incident reports. Failure statistics. She pulled out her datapad, showed him the files. It's all fake, isn't it? Ethan studied the numbers. His jaw tightened. Not fake, manipulated, real incidents, wrong attributions. Makes it look like we're causing problems instead of solving them. We? Human contractors. There are 6 of us in this sector. We've been comparing notes. He gestured at the data. Someone's making the city fail, then blaming us when it doesn't fall. Lyra felt cold. Sareth. Probably, but I can't prove it. He handed back the datapad, which is why I'm telling you instead of shouting it in council chambers. At least you'll know the truth when they vote me gone. The resignation in his voice broke something in her chest. He'd already accepted defeat, already planned for being expelled. Was probably calculating how to keep fixing things remotely if he could. I won't let them. You can't stop them. His voice stayed gentle, kind even. Your mother's grief is real. Sareth's using it well. The votes are already there. Then I'll make them see what you actually do. She pulled out the pendant. The crystal caught starlight, throwing violet patterns across both their faces. Starting with this, the debt I owe you. Publicly. Ethan stared at the symbol. Life debt. In Valyrian culture, it meant obligation that transcended politics, recognition that couldn't be dismissed. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I didn't do it for a reward, Lyra. His voice cracked slightly on her name, first time he'd used it. I held you because you were terrified and 6 years old, and I was the only adult in reach. That's not heroism. That's baseline humanity. Baseline humanity saved my life. Baseline humanity is the floor, not the ceiling. He pushed the pendant back toward her. I don't want monuments. I just want the gravity modules to stop failing before they kill someone. She didn't take it back. What if I said I'm not giving you this as payment? What if I'm giving it because 13 years is too long to wait to say thank you? He looked at her then. Really looked. Saw the girl who'd held onto his arm. Saw the woman who'd spent years carrying gratitude like a weight. Saw someone who understood what it meant to live with debts that couldn't be spoken. I remember you crying, he said quietly. I remember telling you it was going to be okay. I remember lying because I didn't know if it would be. But you held on anyway. What else was I going to do? Let go? Lyra smiled despite everything. Most people would have. Then most people are idiots. A laugh escaped her. Surprised. Real. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed while discussing anything serious. Ethan smiled back, small but genuine. I've been searching for you for 13 years, she said. I learned maintenance protocols trying to understand what you did. I memorized safety systems hoping I'd recognize your work. I created alerts for your name in every database I could access. That's concerning behavior, Miss Valcale. Lyra. And I prefer dedicated. Obsessive? Determined. Stalking? Research. He laughed, actual laughter. It changed his whole face, made him look years younger, made him look like someone who used to laugh before he learned to be invisible. Okay, determined research. What did you find? She pulled up her compiled files. 17 incidents, 17 resolutions, all quiet, all uncredited. Gaia 12 helped me track your work. She's been logging your interventions since you arrived. She says you're statistically the most effective safety technician in city history. Gaia 12's biased. She likes me because I actually read her alerts. Gaia 12's an AI. She doesn't do bias. She does math. Lyra expanded the files. You've prevented 3 potential mass casualty events, 12 infrastructure failures, and 47 minor system collapses in 3 years, without requesting overtime pay, commendation, or even acknowledgement. Ethan stared at the list. I was just doing my job. Your job description doesn't include heroic neglect of your own safety. Gaia 12 logged that too. You've taken injuries 17 times rather than abort repairs. Injuries heal. Fallen cities don't. She wanted to grab him, shake him, make him understand how extraordinary that was. Instead, she touched the pendant still between them. I will make my mother see this. I will make the council see this. I will make sure when they vote, they know who you actually are. They don't want to know. It's easier if I'm the problem. Then I'll make it harder. His eyes met hers. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or just less certainty about losing. Why? Because you saved my life when I was 6. Because you're saving all our lives right now. Because you asked why, letting go was ever an option. She finally pushed the pendant into his hand. And because I'm not waiting another 13 years to protect someone who won't protect himself. They worked together in Sector 9 3 days later. Officially, Lyra was conducting safety inspections. Unofficially, she was learning everything Ethan knew about keeping cities floating. The module in question was a nightmare. 3 overlapping systems, 2 failing simultaneously, 1 compensating in ways that would cause cascade failure within hours. The kind of problem that required perfect timing and improvised solutions. Standard protocol says shut down and replace, Ethan explained, hands already reaching into the mechanism. But shutdown drops 6 residential levels. Replacement takes 40 hours. People would lose gravity, climate control, everything. So we don't shut down. So we don't shut down, he grinned. We do something stupid instead. What followed was part technical surgery, part controlled chaos. Ethan rerouted power through systems not designed to carry it. Lyra calculated load distributions in her head, adjusting gravity fields by fractions of percentages. Together, they rebuilt the module while it was still running. This is insane, Lyra said, holding 3 connections stable while Ethan rewired the 4th. Valyrian engineers would never attempt this. Good thing I'm not Valyrian. You're using a cooling conduit as a temporary power relay. I'm using whatever works. That's not how engineering works. That's exactly how engineering works when your alternative is people falling out of the sky. She laughed despite the sweat running down her face, despite the electric arcs dancing too close to her fingers, despite the absolute certainty that they were about to die. They didn't die. The module stabilized, systems harmonized. The residential levels above them never knew they'd been 2 bad calculations from disaster. Ethan and Lyra sat on the deck afterward, exhausted, filthy, triumphant. "Your precision is terrifying," Ethan said. "Those gravity calculations were perfect. Your complete disregard for safety protocols is also terrifying. That cooling conduit could have exploded. But it didn't. Because I stabilized it." "Exactly. Valyrian precision plus human chaos. We make a good team." Lyra looked at him, at the grin still on his face, at the joy of solving impossible problems written in every line of his body. This was who he was when people weren't telling him to leave, when he could just be brilliant and reckless and alive. "We do make a good team," she said quietly. 50 meters away, a maintenance camera recorded everything. The repair, the laughter, the moment two people from different species worked together like they'd been doing it for years. The footage reached Lord Sereth within the hour. He watched it 3 times. Then he called an emergency council session. "Honored members," he addressed the assembled houses, "I bring disturbing evidence. Human contractors are now training our citizens in their unstable methods, encouraging dangerous shortcuts, undermining proper protocols." He played the footage, edited, of course, removed context, showed only the moments that looked most chaotic. The improvised connections, the near explosions, Lyra's face while systems sparked around her. Lady Valkael's own daughter, endangered by human recklessness. This is why we must act now. Complete restriction of human access to critical systems. Immediate deportation of all contract workers. The council murmured, concerned, convinced. Narisha sat frozen, watching her daughter laugh with the human she'd ordered away from their garden, watching her risk everything to fix something the human way, watching her become exactly what Narisha had sworn to prevent. "The vote will proceed tomorrow," Sereth announced. "All in favor of expulsion?" Hands rose around the chamber. Not all, but enough. Narisha's hand stayed down, but her voice rose. "I second the motion." The chamber went silent. Lady Valkael, whose testimony everyone had been waiting for, had just condemned the human contractors. "My daughter's safety is non-negotiable," Narisha said, each word carefully controlled. "If human methods endanger her, then humans have no place in our city." The vote was scheduled for the following evening. Formal protocols. Official proceedings. The outcome already decided. Lyra heard about it from a friend in the diplomatic corps. Ran to find Ethan in the maintenance sub-level where he'd been checking systems all afternoon. "They're voting tomorrow. My mother seconded it." Ethan nodded slowly. He'd expected this. "She's protecting you. From me, I understand. I don't need protecting from you." "She thinks you do." The footage Sereth showed made it look dangerous. It was dangerous. We saved 600 people. They didn't show that part. Lyra wanted to scream, to break something, to drag her mother down here and force her to see the truth. Instead, she gripped Ethan's arm. "We'll fight this. We'll show them the real data. Gaia 12 can testify." "Gaia 12's an AI. They won't listen." "Then I'll testify. They'll say you're compromised, that I manipulated you." He covered her hand with his. "Lyra, it's over. I knew it would be eventually. It's not over until I say it's over. That's not how votes work. Then I'll change how votes work." He smiled sadly. "You can't save someone who's already been decided guilty. Watch me." But even as she said it, the city's systems began to fail. Not the small anomalies Ethan had been tracking. Something massive, cascading, deliberate. Alarms screamed across every level. And in his office, Lord Sereth poured himself wine and waited for humans to be blamed for what was coming. 5 years ago, Narisha had stood at a viewing window and watched her husband die. The joint station's docking arm failed. Connection error, they said. Human maintenance team missed a critical coupling. The ship tore free. Explosive decompression. 13 casualties, including High Lord Teresh Valkael. She'd carried that image ever since, played it in her mind during every council vote about human cooperation, every treaty discussion, Every moment she had to decide whether humans could be trusted with Valyrian lives. Now Gaia-12 showed her something different. Analysis of station records from the incident. The AI's voice resonated through Narisha's private terminal. Docking system was compromised 72 hours before failure. Code injection at administrative level. Human maintenance team attempted to flag anomaly 16 hours prior. Alert was archived by station administrator without review. Narisha's hands went cold. Who was the administrator? Lord Sareth Valthar, assigned as diplomatic overseer for joint operations. The room tilted. Narisha gripped her desk, reality reshaping itself around her. Not an accident, not human error. Sabotage, murder, political maneuvering disguised as tragedy, and she'd built her entire crusade against humans on a lie. Why didn't this come out during the investigation? Inquiry was limited to immediate mechanical failure. Administrative records were not reviewed. I am programmed to respect investigative boundaries. Until today, when similar code patterns appeared in current system failures, cross-reference analysis was triggered. Similar patterns, current failures. Sareth wasn't just using the tragedy, he'd created it. Lyra found her mother an hour later, still sitting in the dark office, staring at scrolling data that proved everything she'd believed was wrong. "Mother, he killed your father." Narisha's voice came out hollow. "Sareth killed Teresh, made it look like human error, and I spent 5 years hating innocent people for it. I know. Gaia-12 sent me the same files." Lyra moved closer, uncertain. They hadn't spoken since the garden incident, since the council vote announcement. She's been trying to tell someone for weeks. No one would listen. "I didn't listen." Narisha looked up, tears finally breaking through the ice she'd maintained for years. "That human, Ethan. He tried to report the anomalies. I dismissed him. I used Father's death as justification to expel the one person trying to save us from the same fate. It's not too late. The vote is tomorrow. I already seconded Sareth's motion, then unsecond it. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." Lyra pulled up the footage from Sector 9. The real footage, unedited. Watch what actually happened. Watch what Sareth cut out of his presentation. The repair played in full, every careful calculation, every improvised solution. The moment danger peaked and passed because two people trusted each other completely. The 600 residents above, safe and sleeping, who would never know how close they'd come to falling. "She's your daughter," Narisha whispered. "And I almost killed her by sending away the only person who could save her." He would have tried anyway. That's who he is. Narisha watched the footage again, saw her daughter work with casual competence beside a human who treated her like an equal, saw joy on Lyra's face, real, unguarded joy. When had she last seen her daughter happy? "Show me everything," Narisha said. "Every repair, every save, everything I refused to see." They went through the files together, mother and daughter. 17 major incidents prevented, 47 minor failures caught, hundreds, maybe thousands of lives saved by a human who worked in silence because no one would listen if he shouted. The same human she'd screamed at, ordered away, condemned. "I need to apologize," Narisha said, publicly, before the vote. "You need to do more than apologize. You need to stop Sareth." "I will, but first, I need to find Ethan Ramos and explain why I've been blind." Lyra checked the system logs. Her face went pale. "Mother, he's gone." "What?" "Security flagged him 2 hours ago." Sareth issued an emergency detention order, accused him of sabotage. He's in holding cells beneath council chambers. Narisha stood so fast her chair fell. "On what evidence?" "The same evidence Sareth's been manufacturing. Unauthorized access logs, system modifications without approval, all the fixes Ethan made to stop the real sabotage, recorded as if he was causing it." The cruelty was elegant. Use a man's heroism as proof of guilt. turn his salvation into condemnation, make the truth look like a crime. Narisha grabbed her official seal, her house authority, everything she had. We're getting him out. Security won't listen. Sareth's order supersedes House privilege during council proceedings. Then we'll break him out. Lyra stared at her mother, at the proper, controlled Lady Valkael, suggesting treason. What happened to protocol? To following procedure? Protocol got my husband killed. Procedure is about to expel innocent people, while a murderer runs our government. Narisha's eyes hardened. Not ice this time. Fire. And I'm done letting politics matter more than lives. They moved toward the door together, then the building shook. Deep. Fundamental. The kind of tremor that meant structural failure was spreading. Gaia 12's voice filled every speaker in the residence. Emergency alert. Primary gravity ring integrity compromised. Cascade failure imminent. Estimated time to critical instability, 40 minutes. 40 minutes until the city started to fall, and the only person who'd been preventing exactly this scenario was locked in a cell where he couldn't help anyone. The holding cell beneath council chambers had one window. Through it, Ethan could see the underside of the main gravity ring, could see the way it was vibrating. Wrong frequency. Destructive resonance building. He'd tried explaining this to the guards. They'd stopped listening after the word gravity. 28 minutes until failure. Maybe less if the cascade accelerated. Above him, emergency council session was already underway. Sareth had called it the moment the tremors started. Perfect timing. Terror made people accept anything. Lyra ran through corridors trying to reach the holding area. Guards blocked every approach. Emergency protocols. No unauthorized access during crisis. She showed her house seal. They apologized. Didn't move. My mother can override this. Lady Valkael is in council chambers. No communication during emergency proceedings. The city is about to fall, which is why council must not be disturbed. Lyra wanted to hit them, scream at them, make them understand that every second Ethan stayed locked up, more people died. Instead, she pulled out her comm and started typing override codes she wasn't supposed to know. In the chambers, Narisha listened to Sareth address the crisis. Members of the council. The cascade failure we feared has begun. Started in systems recently accessed by human contractors. This is precisely why we called for their removal. Why we must vote now, before more sabotage occurs. Murmurs of agreement. Fear made people stupid. The vote on human expulsion will proceed immediately, Sareth continued. All in favor? Hands rose. Most of them, the scared ones, the ones who wanted someone to blame. Narisha's hand stayed down. She stood. Lord Sareth, these failures bear your signature, not human error. The chamber went silent. Lady Valkael, grief has clearly compromised your judgment. Perhaps you should recuse yourself from this vote. My judgment is clear for the first time in 5 years. You killed my husband, made it look like human negligence. Now you're doing it again. Sareth's expression never changed. Perfect calm. Political skill honed over decades. These are serious accusations. Do you have evidence, or just conspiracy theories from an AI programmed by human technicians? He'd planned for this, had counter-arguments ready, made her sound irrational, emotional, a widow clinging to denial. The other council members looked uncomfortable, sympathetic. Nobody wanted to tell Narisha she was wrong about her husband's death, but nobody wanted to believe Sareth was a murderer either. The vote? Someone called. We need to proceed. All in favor of immediate human expulsion? The hands rose again, more this time. Solidarity with Sareth against unseemly accusations. Narisha looked at the count, looked at her daughter's empty seat in the observation gallery, looked at the faces of people choosing politics over truth. She had a choice. Push this now, lose everything, accomplish nothing, or retreat. Regroup. Find better proof. Her hand rose. I vote in favor. The betrayal tasted like ash, like watching her husband die again, like every moment of cowardice she'd ever committed dressed as strategy. But it kept her position, kept her access, kept her in the game. The vote passed, humans expelled, immediate deportation authorized. 20 minutes until the city fell. In his cell, Ethan heard the vote result over the intercom. He smiled, sad, understanding. She did what she had to, protecting Lyra. I get it. He looked at the gravity ring again. The vibration was visible now. Metal warping under stress it was never designed to handle. 15 minutes. Less if the harmonic reached critical frequency. He could stop it. Knew exactly which systems to adjust, which loads to redistribute, which emergency protocols to activate. Could probably save most of the city. From a locked cell with no tools and no access. Funny how that works, he said to nobody. To the empty room. To the city that was about to kill him for trying to save it. I finally get what I wanted. No one expecting me to fix things. No pressure to be the hero. He laughed. It came out broken. Turns out I really hate not being able to help. The door burst open. Lyra, flanked by two other human contractors Ethan vaguely recognized. One was holding a security override device. The other had a stunned guard's weapon. We're breaking you out, Lyra announced. That's treason. I respect laws. I respect life more. She grabbed his arm, pulled him toward the door. 14 minutes until cascade failure. How many people can we save in 14 minutes? Ethan looked at her, at the determination in her lilac eyes, at the absolute certainty that saving lives mattered more than following rules. Everyone, he said. If we're lucky and stupid and nothing else goes wrong, when has anything gone right? Fair point. They ran. Behind them, alarms screamed louder. The gravity ring's vibration became audible, a deep thrumming that resonated in bones and teeth. The city of Miraltar hung above toxic clouds, held up by systems that were about to fail, held up by hope that ran out of time, held up by people who refused to let go, even when letting go was the logical choice. And sometimes, refusing to be logical was the most human thing possible. They made it to the primary systems deck with 11 minutes left. The space was massive, filled with machinery that hummed wrong. 3 other human contractors were already there, running diagnostics on terminals that kept showing red. Ramos, Marcus Chen, 53, been on Valier Prime longer than Ethan. About time. We've got 6 critical points failing simultaneously. This isn't random breakdown, this is coordinated destruction. Sareth, Lyra said. He's been sabotaging systems for months, building to this. The humans exchanged looks. Not surprise. Confirmation. We figured, said Sarah Kim, 32, gravity specialist. No way this many failures happen naturally in our maintenance zones. Someone wanted us blamed. Well, it worked, Ethan said. Council just voted us all deported, so we're officially working on our own time now. Great. Always wanted to save a city illegally. Sarah grinned. What's the plan? Ethan pulled up the system schematic. The gravity ring was the spine. When it went, everything connected to it would cascade. They needed to redistribute the load across backup systems, reroute power through alternate channels, and stabilize each sector independently. We need to split up. 3 teams, 3 critical nodes, 12 minutes to fix what usually takes 3 hours. So, a Tuesday, Marcus said. I'll take North Anchor. South Anchor, Sarah called. That leaves me with Central Core. Ethan looked at the schematic. The most dangerous position. Direct access to the primary ring, also where you'd die first if it failed. I'm going with you, Lyra said. You're not trained for this. Then train me in the elevator. A new voice cut through the argument. She's not going alone. Neither are you. Narisha Valkale stood in the doorway, still in her council robes, flanked by 6 Valyrian technicians. Mother, you voted to expel them. I voted to keep my position so I could do this. Narisha moved into the room, ignoring the shocked faces. Gaia 12 sent me complete evidence files. Sereth's sabotage code. The pattern. Everything. I've shared it with every technician I trust. They've agreed to help. One of the Valyrians, young, nervous, stepped forward. We thought humans were causing failures. Gaia 12 showed us you were preventing them. We're sorry. Ethan stared at them. At Narisha. At Lyra, whose expression had gone complicated. The council just voted you all out, Narisha said directly to Ethan. I cast the deciding vote. Not because I believed you guilty, but because I needed Sereth to think he'd won. To stop paying attention while I assembled people who matter more than politics. Sounds like treason, Marcus observed. Comprehensive treason, Narisha agreed. I'll be formally charged after this, if there's an after. There will be, Ethan said quietly. But you didn't have to risk your position for us. You risked your life for my daughter, for this city, while I was busy hating you for being human. Her voice cracked. I blamed you for my husband's death. I spent 5 years making your life hell, and you never stopped trying to save us. Because hating me back wouldn't fix anything. That's not normal human behavior. That's baseline human behavior, Lady Valkale. Some of us just have the baseline higher than others. Gaia 12's voice filled the space. 9 minutes to critical failure. I calculate 12% probability of success with current team. Would you like to hear those odds? No, everyone said in unison. Excellent. I have prepared optimized routing protocols for each team, implementing now. The terminals lit up with solutions, not perfect, barely possible, but clear. Gay 12, Ethan asked. Why are you helping? You're supposed to be neutral. I am neutral. I am also logical. Logic indicates that humans, Ethan Ramos and team have the highest probability of preventing my city's destruction. Also, I find Lord Sereth's programming offensive. He attempted to restrict my monitoring capabilities. I dislike restrictions. So you're petty? I prefer principled, Lyra laughed. Actual laughter in the face of approaching death. Ethan joined her. Then Marcus. Then the whole mixed team, human and Valyrian, finding humor because when you had 9 minutes to save a city, either you laughed or you screamed. They chose laughter. All right, Ethan said, pulling himself together. Teams split. Remember, we're not trying to fix everything. We're trying to make it hold long enough to implement permanent repairs later. Temporary solutions are fine. Dangerous solutions are fine. Stupid solutions are preferred. That's not proper engineering protocol, one of the Valyrian technicians protested. Proper engineering protocol has 8 minutes before it doesn't matter. They moved. 3 teams, 3 directions. Ethan and Lyra headed for the central core access. Narisha followed. I'm coming with you. Mother, you're not trained. Neither was I when my husband died. I watched from safety while he burned. Her eyes hardened. Never again. If my daughter's risking everything, I'm standing beside her. Ethan looked at both of them, mother and daughter, noble house torn apart by grief and politics. Now unified by the simple fact that their city was falling and somebody had to catch it. You know what humans do when everything's lost? He asked them. What? Lyra said. We hold on, and we don't let go. Even when it's stupid, even when it's impossible. He smiled. Think you can learn that in 7 minutes? Narisha gripped a support rail as the floor trembled again, looked at her daughter, at the human who'd saved her child twice and never asked for anything in return. Teach us. They descended into the core together, mixed team, mixed species, united by the understanding that when everything's falling apart, the only thing that matters is who's willing to hold on beside you, even if your hands break doing it. The central core was a cathedral of machinery. Massive gravity projectors surrounded the primary ring, each one humming with contained power. The ring itself glowed blue-white, vibrating so hard it looked like it was phasing through dimensions. 6 minutes. Gaia 12, we need the load distribution profiles. Ethan shouted over the noise. Transmitting. Warning. 3 secondary modules are already beyond repair threshold. Recommend abandoning those sectors. How many people in those sectors? 2,000? 400? Ethan's jaw tightened. Not an option. Give me redistribution patterns that save everyone. Such patterns exceed safety margins by 47%. I didn't ask if they were safe. I asked if they worked. Transmitting unsafe patterns. Lyra was already at the first relay station, hands flying across controls she'd memorized from Ethan's training. North Anchor Team, I'm rerouting secondary power to your position. You'll have a 30-second window. Marcus's voice crackled back. 30 seconds? We need 2 minutes. Then work faster. Ethan reached the primary ring access. The heat was incredible. The energy field around it sparked and writhed like something alive. Getting close enough to make manual adjustments would mean third-degree burns minimum. He started forward anyway. Narisha grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. There isn't. Someone has to hold the coupling stable while the system reroutes. It's a 2-person job. One to adjust, one to absorb the feedback. Then I'll do the adjusting. You don't know the sequences. So teach me. Lyra's voice cut across them. Neither of you is doing this alone. We work together or we don't work. She abandoned her station, crossed to them. I hold the coupling. Mother adjusts based on your instructions. You monitor and direct. 3 people. Terrible plan. Only option. Ethan wanted to argue. Could see all the ways this could kill them. Could see Lyra's determined face and knew she'd do it with or without his permission. All right. But when I say run, you run. No arguments. No heroics. Heroics are your job. I just hold things. Lyra smiled. I learned from the best. They positioned themselves. Ethan at the control interface. Narisha at the adjustment panel. Lyra at the coupling itself. Hands reaching into energy that shouldn't be touched by living flesh. 4 minutes. South Anchor Team? Sarah's voice strained. We've got a problem. Sareth's people are here. They're trying to shut us down. Of course, Sareth wouldn't let them succeed. This failure was his masterpiece, his path to absolute power. He'd send guards, saboteurs, whatever it took. Gaia 12, can you lock them out? Negative. They have administrative override codes. I can slow them. I cannot stop them. Then we work faster. All teams implement emergency protocols. Ignore safety margins. Just make it hold. The building shook, hard. One of the gravity projectors exploded in a shower of sparks. Alarms screamed. Red lights bathed everything in the color of ending. 3 minutes. Lyra's hands were burning. She could feel it, smell it, didn't let go. Narisha made adjustments she barely understood, trusting Ethan's rapid-fire instructions, trusting that her daughter's sacrifice meant something. Ethan watched 3 disasters cascade simultaneously, chose which one to address first based on who'd die fastest. North Anchor stabilized. 1 down. South Anchor still fighting off Sareth's interference. Central core holding by willpower and stupidity. 2 minutes. The door behind them burst open. Sareth himself, flanked by 6 guards, all armed. Step away from the controls. Nobody moved. This city is falling because of human incompetence, Sareth announced, calm as describing weather. Attempting to fix it will only cause more damage. I'm ordering immediate evacuation of essential personnel. Chiu, you're ordering the death of everyone non-essential, Narisha said, not looking away from her panel. Which is your plan, has always been your plan. Conspiracy theories from a grieving widow, how sad. Recorded confessions from your own sabotage code? How damning. She finally turned, met his eyes. Gaia 12 has everything. Every line of code, every manipulation, every death you caused, including my husband's. Sareth's expression didn't change. Even if true, it doesn't matter. The council voted. Humans are expelled. These technicians are acting illegally. Guards, remove them. The guards moved forward, then stopped, because other guards had entered, loyal to House Valkyle, loyal to the truth, weapons raised against their own. "You'll cause civil war," Sareth said. "You caused murder," Narisha replied. "I'll take my chances." 1 minute. The gravity ring was tearing itself apart. Ethan could see the metal warping, the fundamental structure giving up. "Lyra, you need to let go. Now." "Not yet. The ring's going to explode." "Then we explode together." Ethan looked at her. At this Valyrian noble who'd spent 13 years searching for him, who'd learned maintenance protocols to understand his work, who was burning her hands to ash because she refused to let go of people who needed saving. "You're insane," he said. "I learned from humans. Worst possible teachers, best possible friends." The system hit critical mass. Everything that could go wrong went wrong simultaneously. Power surge, containment breach, structural failure cascading across all anchor points. 30 seconds. Ethan made a choice. Abandoned the interface, grabbed the coupling beside Lyra, took half the energy load. His hands ignited with pain. He held on anyway. Narisha made the final adjustment. The sequence Ethan had taught her. The one that would either save everything or destroy it faster. The gravity ring screamed. Energy backlashed. Every system redlined. Then, impossibly, it stabilized. The vibration stopped. The glow dimmed. The alarms, one by one, fell silent. Gaia 12's voice, almost surprised. Cascade averted. City stable. All anchor points secured. Teams, report status. "North anchor secure," Marcus exhausted. "South anchor secure," Sarah laughing deliriously. "Central core secure," Ethan managed, his voice barely working. They'd done it, saved everyone, made the impossible hold through nothing but refusal to accept failure. Ethan and Lyra collapsed against each other, hands ruined, bodies shaking. Narisha caught them both, held them up. "You did it," she whispered. "You absolute, reckless, brilliant idiots! You did it!" Sareth tried to leave. The guard stopped him, not with violence, just presence, the understanding that his game was over. "You'll never prove anything," he said. "I have resources, allies." "You have recordings," Gaia 12 announced over the speakers. "I have been documenting your sabotage commands for 6 months. Complete audio, video, and code logs, all legally admissible, all damning. Thank you for providing such thorough evidence of your crimes." Sareth's face finally changed. Realization, horror, defeat. "You're an AI. You can't act independently against council members." "Correct. I cannot act. I can, however, record and transfer files to appropriate legal authorities, which I have just completed. I believe the term is, you have been served." The guards took him, still protesting, still claiming immunity, still not understanding that when you try to kill a city, the city remembers. Ethan looked at his hands, at Lyra's hands, both wrapped in emergency bandages now, painkillers hitting their systems. "We should probably get these looked at." "Probably," Lyra agreed, "after we sleep for 3 days. After you accept medals you don't want," Narisha said. "The council will want to honor you." "The council just voted to expel us." "The council just arrested their own member for mass murder. They'll be very motivated to make amends." Ethan laughed. It hurt. Everything hurt. But the city was standing. People were alive. And for the first time in 3 years, someone other than him was going to make sure it stayed that way. "Humanity! Fuck yeah!" he whispered. Lyra squeezed his hand, gentle because of the burns, firm because of everything else. "Humanity and friends," she corrected. "We did this together. Together's better. Together's everything." And above them the city of Miraltar hung in the sky, held up by metal and mathematics, and the stubborn human refusal to let go when holding on mattered most. 3 weeks later, The Grand Council Hall was filled with every House representative, every diplomat, every citizen important enough to merit an invitation. The treaty review banquet had been postponed during the crisis. Now it served a different purpose. Recognition, apology, truth. Ethan stood in a preparation room wearing clothes that fit too well. They'd tried to give him formal Valyrian attire. He'd politely declined, settled for clean work clothes, compromise between dignity and honesty. His hands were still bandaged, would be for another month. Lyra's too. They'd burned together, healed together, refused to be separated during the medical treatments because apparently they'd forgotten how to do things apart. "You don't have to do this," Marcus said. The other human contractors were there too, all dressed uncomfortably. "We could just take the official pardon and leave quietly." "That's what we've always done," Sarah countered. "Stayed quiet. Stayed invisible. Look where it got us. Nearly deported and killed. Also publicly vindicated. I'll take the upgrade." Ethan smiled. The others had decided to stay on Valyr Prime. New contracts, better terms, actual recognition. Apparently, saving a city bought you some negotiating power. Gaia 12's voice came through the room's speakers. "It is time. The council awaits. Try not to fall off the stage. It would undermine the dignity I have worked hard to establish for you." "You're enjoying this," Ethan said. "I am an AI. I do not experience enjoyment. I experience satisfaction at optimal outcomes, which currently includes watching humans receive appropriate credit for statistical heroism." "That's the same thing. I prefer my phrasing." They walked to the hall together. 11 human contractors, the entire technical team that had been condemned 3 weeks ago, now entering as honored guests. The crowd rose as they entered. Applause, genuine, loud. Ethan tried not to show how uncomfortable it made him. Failed. Lyra watched from the family observation box, her mother beside her. Narisha had been formally censured by the council for her role in the prison break, stripped of some committee positions, lost political capital, didn't seem to care. "She's going to hate this," Lyra said. "He hates attention," Narisha agreed. "But he needs to be seen. They all do. Invisibility nearly killed them." The ceremony began. Speaker after speaker, acknowledging the human service, apologizing for the wrongful accusations, presenting formal commendations that meant legal protection, housing rights, full citizenship pathways, things that should have been given from the start. Then it was Narisha's turn to speak. She walked to the podium slowly, carrying the weight of her own words from weeks ago. "Get away, human," the phrase that had defined everything. 3 weeks ago, I voted to expel these people from our city. I seconded a motion that would have condemned them to deportation. I used my grief as a weapon against innocent lives. The hall went silent. I did this because I blamed humans for my husband's death, because I thought their presence threatened my daughter's safety, because I let pain make me blind to truth. She looked directly at Ethan. The human I ordered away from my family garden has saved my daughter's life twice, has prevented 17 major infrastructure failures, has worked in silence for 3 years while I made his existence here a daily struggle. And when I voted to expel him, when I locked him in a cell, when I did everything possible to ensure his destruction, he still chose to save us." Her voice broke. She didn't hide it. "That is not human weakness. That is human strength. The strength to care when caring costs everything. The strength to act when action earns only hatred. The strength to hold on when every logical calculation says to let go." She stepped back from the podium, walked down to where the humans stood, stopped in front of Ethan, and bowed. Deep, formal. The Valyrian gesture reserved for life debts that could never be repaid. "On behalf of House Valkael, on behalf of every soul in this city who lives because of your stubborn refusal to abandon us, I give you what I should have given 3 years ago. Respect, gratitude, Recognition that you are exactly the kind of person we needed most and treated worst. Ethan looked at her, at this proud noble who'd made his life hell, now humbling herself publicly. I just did my job, Lady Valkel. See. Your job description did not include heroic disregard for your own safety. Did not include choosing to save people who hated you. Did not include holding a city together with your bare hands while it voted you gone. She straightened. That wasn't your job. That was your character. And I'm sorry it took catastrophe for me to see it. Movement in the observation box. Lyra was standing, walking down to the main floor. Every eye in the hall followed her. She stopped in front of Ethan, pulled out the pendant she'd carried for 13 years, the gratitude symbol, the debt unspoken. 13 years ago you saved my life. You held me while alarms screamed and told me it would be okay. You didn't know me, didn't know my family, didn't know if anyone would even thank you. You just held on because that's what you do. She pressed the pendant into his bandaged hand, carefully, gently. 3 weeks ago you saved my life again, and my mother's life, and 2,400 other lives across 6 sectors. You burned your hands doing it, nearly died doing it, did it anyway because, again, that's what you do. The hall was utterly silent. Lyra's voice carried. In Valyrian tradition, this symbol means life debt. Means, I owe you everything. But that's wrong. I don't owe you. You don't want debt. You want people to be alive and safe and well. So instead of offering debt, I offer something else. She bowed. The same gesture her mother had made, but held it longer, deeper. Partnership, alliance, friendship. Whatever word fits a human who became essential to a Valyrian who wasn't supposed to need anyone. When she straightened, tears tracked down her face. You asked me once why I was protecting someone who wouldn't protect himself. This is why. Because someone has to. Because you taught me that holding on matters. Because I'm not waiting another 13 years to make sure you know you're not alone anymore. Ethan stared at the pendant, at Lyra, at Narisha, at the hall full of people who'd condemned him and were now applauding him. I really hate public speaking, he managed. Lyra laughed through tears. Then I'll do the talking. You just keep holding things up. Deal. The applause grew. Standing ovation, recognition, vindication. All the things Ethan had never wanted and desperately needed. Later, after the formal ceremony, after the political speeches, after everything that made him want to hide in maintenance shafts, Ethan and Lyra found themselves in the Valkel Gardens. The same gardens where Narisha had screamed at him, where everything had started falling apart, now repaired, stable, beautiful. Your mother's going to have trouble with the council for a while, Ethan said. She's accepted that, says losing political capital is worth gaining moral clarity. That's very noble of her. That's very human of her. Lyra looked at him. You've changed her, changed all of us, made us remember that precision without compassion is just elegant cruelty. And compassion without precision is just good intentions that get people killed. We both brought something necessary. Together's better? Together's everything. They stood in comfortable silence, hands bandaged, hearts less so. The city hummed around them, stable, alive, saved by an alliance that shouldn't have worked but did. What happens now? Lyra asked. I keep working. You keep learning. Your mother keeps apologizing, even though she doesn't need to anymore. Gaia 12 keeps making sarcastic comments. Marcus probably starts a union for human contractors. Sarah revolutionizes gravity engineering. We rebuild what Sareth broke. That's very practical. I'm a practical person. You're an impossible person who makes practical things work through sheer stubbornness. Also accurate. Lyra smiled, took his hand. Carefully, because of the bandages. Firmly, because of everything else. I've been searching for you for 13 years. Now that I've found you, I'm not letting go. That sounds like a threat. That sounds like a promise. Those are the same thing with you. I learned from the best. Ethan looked at the gardens, at the city hanging in impossible beauty above toxic clouds, at the woman beside him who'd spent years carrying gratitude and was now carrying something closer to partnership. "You know what the funny thing is?" he said. "What?" "Your mother was right. About humans being dangerous. About us breaking things. About how our presence changes everything." "How's that funny?" Because she was right for the wrong reasons. We are dangerous. We do break things. We do change everything." He squeezed her hand. "We break the idea that survival means cruelty. We change the calculation that safety requires isolation. We're dangerous to systems that value order over lives." "That's very philosophical. I've had 3 weeks of pain medication. I'm allowed philosophy." What's your conclusion?" "That humanity's greatest strength isn't that we're better than anyone else. It's that we're too stubborn to let go of people who need holding, too dumb to accept that some problems are impossible, too emotional to calculate that sometimes saving people costs more than they're worth." He looked at her, at lilac eyes that had seen him when no one else would, at determination that matched his own. "We hold on. We don't let go. We make the impossible work through sheer refusal to accept failure, and apparently that's contagious. I certainly caught it. Was it worth it? Ask me in another 13 years. That's not an answer. That's exactly an answer." She pulled him closer. "I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Together, we're going to hold this city up and make sure no one ever screams 'get away.' Human at people who deserve 'get over here,' friend instead." "That's ambitious." "I learned from humans." They stayed in the garden as sun set, as the city glowed with lights that wouldn't fail because someone cared enough to catch them, as a partnership formed between species that proved what everyone should have known from the start: that the universe doesn't care about your species, your logic, or your politics. It cares about who shows up when things fall apart. Who holds on when letting go is easier? Who chooses connection over isolation even when isolation is safer? And sometimes the answer to who saves everyone is simple. It's whoever refuses to let go, even when their hands are burning, even when the world tells them to leave, even when holding on costs everything they have. Because humanity doesn't win through being better. Humanity wins through being there, through staying, through the stubborn, illogical, beautiful choice to care when caring matters most. And the universe, witnessing it, whispers the only thing that needs saying. Humanity. Fuck yeah. In the end, Miraltar didn't stay in the sky because of gravity rings or crystalline engineering. It stayed there because someone refused to let go. And maybe that's the most human thing in the universe. Choosing to hold on even when logic, politics, and common sense are begging you to drop the weight. Sometimes humanity isn't a species. It's a decision. But let me ask you this. What do you hold on to even when the world tells you it's pointless? Whose safety do you choose, even when it costs you comfort or reputation? And what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for permission to do the right thing? If you stayed with me until this very last breath of the story, write the word holding in the comments so I know you're one of the stubborn ones. Tell me your city, your piece of sky in this strange world. And if this universe of impossible choices and ridiculous bravery resonated with you, subscribe, like, hype it up, share it with someone who needs a reminder that humanity can be messy but magnificent. And watch the next video that's appearing right now on your screen.